Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're looking at Philippians chapter 3 verses 17 to 21. So if you haven't gotten your Bible out already, go ahead and do that. This passage is much shorter and this video is going to be a lot shorter too. There's no background to tell you. I only have two key terms to tell you. The first is in verse 19. When Paul says their God is their belly, what he's saying is they're ruled by their appetite. They're ruled by the things that they want. Their desires control them is maybe another way to put it. And the second one is also in verse 19. When Paul says they glory in their shame, he's saying that they take pride in what they should be ashamed of. And in Paul's mind, he's talking about the sinful tendencies that they have in their lives, things that they should be ashamed of, but instead they're proud of. So as you look through this passage for yourself, I want to give you a question to kind of guide you in the way that you read it. And that question is, whose example do you follow? Paul wants to tell the Philippian Christians to follow his example and not the example of people who don't follow Christ. And in the same way for us, we have to ask, whose example are we going to follow? Will we follow Paul's example or will we follow someone else? So go ahead and take this passage, read it for yourself, and then come back when you're ready. Welcome back. So let me give you a takeaway, and it's going to be very simple. I'm going to advise you, just like Paul advises the Philippian Christians, to follow godly examples. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying that we can't learn a lot of good things from non-Christians. There are so many good non-Christians in this world who make the world a better place. But what I do think we have to look out for is we have to figure out why we want to learn from them. I think a lot of times it's easy to be influenced by people in terms of their popularity, the way that they look, how much money they make, the lives that they live, the kind of stuff that you can put on social media, right? But if we're following their example just to become like them so that we can have what they have, number one, that's just covetousness. And number two, that also shows that we're kind of living for this world. Like what we want, our goals and our ambitions in this life are just worldly things. And as we saw in yesterday's passage, Paul tells us that's not the point. Even back in chapter 1, verse 21, to live is Christ and to die is gain. This is one of those passages, again, that tells us to stop and think, well, what do we want in this life? Already in the first two chapters of Philippians, we've been seeing Jesus is better. Jesus is the person that we should be striving for, that we should want a deeper relationship with. And again, it's not that we can't have popularity. It's not that we can't someday have jobs that make good money and have nice things. Those are all fine. But at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, who do we want or what do we want? And as we read Philippians, we come to the conclusion that, well, we have to come to realize that Jesus is just better. So when I say that the takeaway is to follow godly examples, I mean to look at people in your life who love Jesus first. It doesn't mean that they don't have anything nice. It doesn't mean that they're not successful people. It doesn't mean that they're not well liked. But what it does mean is that as much as they enjoy all these things, they won't enjoy them more than they enjoy Jesus himself. That's a godly example, not a kind of ultra-conservative, only does super Christian things. But instead, a godly example is just someone who loves Jesus the most out of everything in this world and lives that way. Whatever happens with success and all that, that's not as important as their relationship with him. So I hope that was helpful, and I'll see you next time.